Alright guys, I'm going back on with my right cylinder head on the Pacifica that had the coolant leaking into the cylinder. I'm going to show you what I'm working on. Alright, so we got it all put together. The cylinder head is on. I just got to go through my torque sequence. I just did my first pass at 22 foot-pounds. But I'm going to show you guys the torque sequence and a couple of things about the torquing of these heads. Alright, so basically, these head gaskets are marked L and R. They're not interchangeable left and right. I'm going to make sure all of your sealing surfaces are clean and free of debris and oil or anything like that. It tells you right here to check the cylinder head bolts for stretching. I always replace the cylinder head bolts. In my opinion, they're one-time use only. You don't ever want to reuse cylinder head bolts. It says here, make sure you read your notes. Do not apply any additional oil to the bolt threads. And some manufacturers have you apply oil to the bolt threads. For the 3.6 engine, they don't have you do that, partly probably because, if you compress that oil, it'll blow a hole in the block. But here's your torque sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And they have you start off at 22 foot-pounds, and then you do another pass at 33 foot-pounds, and then you retighten at 33 foot-pounds, and then you do a 125 degree of angle. And it says here, if the rotation cannot be accomplished in one motion, tighten all but by turning 35 degrees, followed by turning another 90 degrees. And then they have you loosen everything, loosen the fasteners in reverse sequence. And then they have you torque it back at 22, 33, 33, and then on 130 degrees as the final pass. And then you put everything back together. The torque sequence on these is super important. I've seen a lot of people reuse these head bolts. We were replacing left cylinder heads a lot, and they almost always came back with coolant leaks because these bolts are stretched and they don't work as good the second time around. So always always replace your cylinder head bolts. Don't ever reuse them. Man, that could have been bad. And follow your timing procedure. Make sure your timing marks are good. And then put everything back together, the way that it should be, using the RTV that you're supposed to be using. So the first thing about these bolts is you should know that they are torque to yield bolts, and they are designed to stretch a certain amount during this procedure, and that's why you have the angle.
Wow.
Alright, so now we have to loosen all of our bolts again, and then reverse sequence. Sorry if you guys can hear me panting. This is a lot of work. Now we're going to retorque. 22, 33, 33. 22 foot-pounds.
I'm just curious, why are you recording this?
Because I like to. It's just fun.
I'm not really a fan of being on camera with videos, but I guess I can accept. This is pretty cool. Yeah.
Thanks. $130 degrees. Make sure you keep track of which stud or which bolt you're on, because if you mess up and forget, All right, all torqued. Now we can move on to the next side. And as always, make sure you guys are following service information. It's always subject to change. I was under the impression that I could do this right cylinder head without taking the timing cover and everything off because I used to do them that way on the older 3.6s, and I was very wrong. They added some bolts on the timing guides that I didn't know about, so the timing cover did have to come off on this one. So, make sure that you look at your service information before you do a job like this and pay close attention to the notes. So that's it on torquing the head bolts on a 3.6 liter. If you guys have any questions or comments, I'm sure somebody's going to come out of the woodwork and tell me I'm doing something wrong. Throw it in the comments.